Tom Brady, the GOAT, the greatest career of all time, and there is no doubt he is the most legendary player in NFL history. He has played for over 20 years in the NFL and smashed basically every record known to man. But one thing that really stands out about his career is the different eras he had over his time with the Patriots. I don't think there has ever been a player who played for one team for that long but had so many iterations of playing offense. So I set out to create a scheme where we will break down each one of these distinct eras and let you play like that version of the Patriots. Now, Brady started for the Pats in 2001, and he went from a 6th-round pick afterthought, and over his 20 years, he became the unquestioned greatest of all time in the NFL and has had a career that nobody can hold a candle to. He has 7 Super Bowl victories, more than any franchise in the NFL. He has the most passing yards and touchdowns ever, and he holds countless other NFL records that will be next to impossible for someone to overtake. He has done it by turning himself into the prototypical pocket passer and has one of the most underrated arms we have ever seen, being able to push the ball to any area of the field, and he has that pinpoint accuracy to place it wherever he needs it. So for this Brady offense I made, I wanted to reflect this insane 20-year Pats run and look at the 4 different eras over his career and give you specifically designed offenses for each. And they are all going to be run out of the Patriots playbook so you can use them all together. The first chapter was his early career where the Pats played smash mouth downhill football. This was before anyone really knew who Brady was as a passer, so it was all predicated on running the ball out of heavy formations to establish the run game. So we are going to be using a ton of I-form looks with tight ends and fullbacks on the field when we use this scheme. This is also going to be full of power runs with pulling guards to smash defenders and open up huge holes in the run game. But off the run, this is where they would implement the play action pass game, and we will be delivering a nasty dose of this where we can pull down defenders, then hit them over the top. Then moving into 07, and the Pats implemented a drastic change. They brought on Randy Moss and Wes Welker and completely shifted how they wanted to play the game, really introducing a ton of the modern spread elements that we see all over the NFL today. So here we will move to more shotgun looks with a slot receiver, and this is where Welker dominated, and he could get open on anybody, and he was Brady's safety blanket underneath. Then on the outside, they had the GOAT, Randy Moss, and this is where the vertical pass game came into play, and Brady would let it fly deep to Moss, and they put up video game numbers in this offense. So we will be employing a ton of that vertical pass game when we go over the 07 Pats. Then after the Moss era, the Pats drafted 2 tight ends with Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez, and from 2010 to 2012, they have both, with Gronk being that complete tight end who could make plays down the field, and he was insane in the red zone, but he was also maybe the best blocking tight end in the whole league. Then you had Hernandez, who is the ultimate movement tight end and acted like another wide receiver for the offense. And they were the backbone of that Patriots scheme, and it gave them this ability to be insanely multiple on offense. And when we implement it, we are going to be much more under center and using our 2 tight ends as movable chess pieces to create mismatches in the pass game. Then the final Brady era was from 2013 to 2019, and this is the modern Brady offense we are most familiar with, where Brady really turned into a point guard who could pick defenses apart, and he would employ quite a bit of that spread offense, with Julian Edelman now manning the slot and really taking over for Welker in that role with quick hitters and dominating over the middle of the field. And we are going to use our slot receiver in basically the same way. But then they still had Gronk, and this is really where he came into his own and established himself as the best tight end in the league. And we are going to really feature a ton of our tight end in this scheme so we can make him a matchup nightmare just like Gronk was for Brady. As we go along with this scheme, there is going to be a ton of videos going up on my website, Scheme Kings, for this Brady offensive scheme. But up right now is the first mini scheme for this Brady O. It is a 7-play U-trips offense. Now, U-trips is one of the more common formations you will see in the game, but I put my own spin on it to give you a ton of off-meta options. Then also on the site are all my past schemes like my NCAA spread offense, my LOB Seahawks defense, and so many more. Also on the site, you can get access to my playbooks, which are full written breakdowns for my schemes, with 4 out so far, with my newest being a 34-page playbook for the LOB LOB Seahawks. So if you want to check out Scheme Kings, it will be linked down in the description below. Now, getting into the personnel you will use for this offense. Now, each of the Brady schemes we will release will have slightly different elements, but if you nail down these 5-star players, then you will be in a great spot for all of them. The first is the QB, and of course we are using one player in this scheme, the legend Tom Brady. This scheme is going to be built around delivering strikes from the pocket, and Tom Terrific is the perfect choice for that role. Now, for sure you can use any other pocket passer type in this offense, but if you can, I would definitely try to use Brady. Now, we are going to be rolling out with Brady on some of the play action stuff as well, so having a decent throw on the run is a nice bonus. Then for abilities, use pass lead elite or set feet lead, and this is going to get you that extra zip on the football. And then we are also using hot route master, so we have access to all the extra hot routes on each player. Then your next star is your running back, and first I'm starting with a downhill physical back who can run between the tackles. And for the early year Pats, Brady had Corey Dillon in this role, someone who could set the tone and really chew up a ton of yards on the ground. And in this spot, I'm using Leonard Fournette, who brings that same size and tackle breaking ability to the scheme, and I'm using Tank on him as an ability to help him break even more tackles in the run game. Then as Brady moved on in his career, he really employed more pass catching backs who can make plays out of the backfield, and he had a ton of different guys through the years. Kevin Falk in the early days, then moving to Danny Woodhead in the middle years, then James White was used a ton in the pass game near the end of Brady's tenure. Next we have our slot receiver, and this position is the safety blanket in these offenses. We will go to him on money downs when we need a play, or we can flip it out underneath to them and let them make a play in the open field. And there are two guys who are synonymous with this position, the first being Wes Welker, who really invented this role. Then later you had Edelman, who won in a ton of similar ways. And I'm using the Julian Edelman card here, and he is obviously the perfect player for this spot. And I do have route tech on him to make sure you can get that extra separation when breaking off from man coverage. Then the fourth key player to have is a ball winner who can make plays on the outside, and we do want speed to get downfield and to really put a ton of pressure vertically on the defense. And the player who best played this role for Brady was obviously Randy Moss, who is the ultimate field stretcher. And at this spot, I am using George Pickens, who brings a ton of that same speed and ball winning to the table. And then I do have short in elite on him to allow him to be one of my go-to weapons to beat man coverage. Then the fifth star is your number one tight end, and this is obviously the Gronk role in this offense. He needs to be able to get downfield and make plays, then be a weapon and get open in the red zone. Then he also needs to be able to block in the run game and spring your players for big gains. In this spot, I'm using Travis Kelce, who isn't the best blocker, but he does get the job done and he excels in every other aspect of the game. And on our tight end, we definitely want to use either short and elite or route tech once again. This is really just going to help you beat man coverage super consistently. Now for the formations and personnel groups we will use out of these offenses, we are going to have three major looks, with the first being 11 personnel. And this will make up a ton of our offense, and this gives us 3 receivers, 1 tight end, and 1 running back. And this will be the backbone of our offenses, with a ton of our explosive pass elements being out of these looks. And we're going to have a ton of ways to run the ball out of these shotgun looks as well. Then the next one we are going to use is 12 personnel. This is 1 running back, 2 tight ends, and 2 receivers. This gives us more power to our offense and can let us attack in different ways than the more spread offensive sets. And this really unlocks the run game and lets us get physical downhill, with our tight ends really being the stars of the show when we go to these formations. Then the last personnel group is 21 personnel. This gives us 2 running backs, 1 tight end, and 2 wide receivers. This will be our main formation when we're playing our I-form offenses, and this will obviously be built to run the ball and be physical up front, and this will be the main group we use in the early Pats offense. But then we also will have a ton of play action offensive looks to push the ball down the field from these formations. Now here's a look at my full lineup that I use for this offense, and a look at all the abilities. You can pause it on either of those screens if you want to take a closer look. Now this Brady Patriots offense is going to be incredibly tough to stop once you get your hands on it, but to be a really complete Madden player, you also have to have a lockdown defense. So if you want to start dominating your opponent and winning on defense, my LOB Seahawks defensive scheme is a great place to start. So if you want to check out my LOB defense, then you need to watch this video right here.